7 p.m. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Welcome to the March 5th, 2023 version of the Londonderry Utilities Committee meeting. I'd like to start by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Just a couple of administrative details first. So Jeff McGraw is not going to be joining us tonight. So I'd like to appoint Ray Breslin to vote in Jeff's absence. And Mike and I were just briefly chatting. Right now, we're leaderless, so I'd like to talk about leadership for 2024 for our committee. And I would like to say one thing. We had elections 6 months in last year after we were formed. I'm looking at this year's nominations, and whoever gets chosen to serve for a year, and then we'll get into the regular cadence along with everybody else. So it'll be through 2025, through March of 2024 through February of 2025. And I'd like to accept any motions for leadership for 2024.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like, subject to their willingness to serve, to nominate our three existing officers to continue through to the next term.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the existing leadership team, which is myself as chair, Martha Smith as vice chair, and John Ferrara as secretary, remaining in their respective positions for 2024 through February 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
We have one opposed.
No.
He's looking for a raise.
He doesn't want to be
Yeah,
secretary.
exactly.
The motion carries, and I just say thank you to everybody. I think we're really developing into a pretty efficient team, and we're getting into some really nice projects, and I think we're doing some good work. And I think that was evident by a couple of things we'll talk about later on in this meeting. So thank you. Next item on the list is public comment. We have nobody here from the public tonight, so we'll move right into administrative board work.
Lynn,
Yes, sir.
isn't that person from the public?
I'm going to say that Kirsten is from the town. She's part of the administrative staff, I think in her capacity
You mean the
tonight.
person who's on the agenda tonight?
But she could also be a member of the public if she chooses.
If she so
I
chooses.
am many things all at once.
Would you like to speak as a member of the public?
Not even a little bit, but thank you.
Excellent, excellent. The next item on administrative work is approval of minutes for February. The minutes just came out today, so we're going to pass on that for tonight, give everybody a chance to take a look at the minutes, and we will vote on those at our April meeting. And with that, we'll move on to discussions with town staff. Mike, Kirsten, anybody would like to go first? Kirsten?
Sure.
Please join us.
All right.
And if you could give us your name and your position?
My name is Kirsten Hildenan. I'm the Administrative Support Coordinator in the Town Manager's Office.
Thank you.
And I am here today just to make myself available to any of you. I hope that most of you got my email letting you know that we are going to be switching over our town email addresses from Microsoft Exchange, from Outlook Exchange to Outlook 365 in the coming weeks. This is a project that IT's been working on for quite a long time, really diligently. And it's one of those projects that goes slow behind the scenes until it's ready to go, and then it goes really fast in front of the scenes. And so that's the stage we're at now. I did send the email letting you know the project's on the horizon. And then the next step that you're going to get is you'll get individualized emails from me with your new email address asking you to please go create your Microsoft account. It will have instructions on how to do so. The next step after that will be to set up multi-factor authentication. And we ask for that you're going to use Microsoft Authenticator on your phone. The last step after that, give me 1 second, John. The last step after that will be the migration, and then we'll tell you to start using your new email. Your new domain will be your address will be your first initial last name at tolboards.org. So that's where you're going to be getting email in the future. If you're on multiple committees, you'll just have one email address, because I know here, this is like the land of multiple committee members, this board in particular. And then you'll keep that address as long as you go through. The transition period, there might be a couple of bumps in it. Your first stop for that is me. Please contact me, not IT, with any questions for a number of reasons. One is that they're busy with the back end of this transition, and my job is the front end. My job is y'all. And then the other reason is that we're trying to track and deal with any questions and concerns that come up holistically through the process. So if you have something, it might be something that I've seen someplace else. And if we're going to 3 different people, then that's not going to come to light as quickly. Okay, so that's my spiel. Now, yeah,
I
John?
got 2 of them for you. So, love the multi-factor I can't say that word, authentication.
Yep.
Problem is, I already have an Outlook 365 account, and there used to be a problem when it says put in your cell phone, it says it's already being used. Is that still gonna be a problem?
I don't think that is going to be a problem, but I will double check that, because those
I
of
don't
us.
have 5 cell phones.
Yeah, no, those of us who are using, I've already downloaded the Authenticator in the trial stage, and those of us who are administrators will have multiple email addresses on it. And I know that Tom has multiple accounts with his Authenticator, so I don't think it'll be a big deal, but I will double check that for you.
Second thing is Office 365 offers, what should I say? I'm trying to use the Google term, but group cloud support. So if, as a group, we want to share documents and stuff like that, will we be using that, or will we be using something different, or we're not using it at all?
It's funny, as soon as I sent out that email, somebody from LHRA was like, oh, so SharePoint, Teams, everything, right? And the answer is eventually. At this point, we're trying to roll out and change over email first before we expand the services to things we are not currently using. Certainly Office 365, and that's one of the benefits of this license, does come with an expanded array of options for you to use for document storage, communication, collaboration. And we are definitely interested in moving forward with that. But we'd like to get everybody set up on the services we already have in use first before we start incorporating the new ones. But it's certainly something that's under consideration.
One thing that I'll just flag is that with every new technology, you know, the law doesn't always keep up. And one of the things that I think we need to walk through on the boards and committees end is, for instance, if you did have a document that you were collaborating, under existing technology, we're concerned about sequential email communications constituting a meeting. If you're all working on a document at once, that, I think, you know, and I'm just hearing this for the kind of working through this in my mind for the first time, that's probably much closer even to the definition of a meeting. And I think there's the opportunity to roll out some of that functionality, but we have to be careful about it as well, and that's why it may not be as speedy as everybody would like.
Yeah, and
Whatever happened to,
Mike hired me. That's what happened to that. I will, yeah.
I'll check until we ran into it. Okay.
Yeah, building off what Mike said, Tom and I have talked about records retention and how to make sure things don't get deleted improperly. And again, the more mailboxes and the more places we store things, the more nooks and crannies, the more likely it is to either A, get lost, or B, disappear by accident. So these are all things that we're working on right now to make sure that we're in compliance with your and my favorite law, 91A.
And the last one, I'm so excited about this. And the last one is, if you don't mind, there are some people that have Outlook desktop.
Yep.
And there's a little bit of a collision, and I have the conversion tool. If you want me to be a guinea pig, I can set it up on another laptop, and we can run through it.
We have not decided if we're going to roll with Outlook Desktop for boards and commissions yet. That is still something that we are evaluating if we're going to move forward for. At this point, the license that we're focusing on for boards and commissions is online only. I think you'll find that 365 has a much more robust online client than your current webmail.
It has about 20 different features that are no longer resistant.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is what I do.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you might not be able to stop people, because if I have
Mm-hmm.
desktop and I run this utility, it will embed it in there.
Mm-hmm.
It'll think that it's online 365, but I will still be storing everything locally.
Yes, and that the where we store things is a concern, and that you and I can definitely get into more of that on offline, because by the creation of PST files,
Right.
where there comes a concern that in records retention, we've created another repository of that we would need to search for responsive documents. So there is actually a technical thing, and I'd be happy to deal with this more with you offline,
Right.
because most people are looking at me like, what
She's got a
what
good
now?
point.
So,
She's got a
yeah.
good point, because
Yep.
if I do that,
Yep.
I'm embedding 2 terabytes of my information that does not need to be over there.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be careful how people do it, and she's on top of it, but, you know.
So, yeah.
on the
And
other
there'll be,
hand,
I'll be able to give you some guidelines in terms of how you set up your mailboxes too. We're working really closely with Consolidated on this. We have weekly calls, either Tom's been on calls with them weekly for months. I got to join for my first time today, so this is something that we're definitely working through.
Thank you.
So,
Do
yeah.
you do hands-on training?
I will absolutely do hands-on one-on-one training.
We may
Yep.
need that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think you'll find that this system is much friendlier than webmail. It's much friendlier, it's much more straightforward. And we have, even though it's amusing, because even though it's a cloud-based email server,
Yeah.
we have much more control of the settings, much more easily than we do with Exchange. So it's actually going to be much easier to create a user-friendly experience for you.
Great.
What did you say the address is going to be?
It's going to be at tolboards.org. So Town of Londonderry
Oh,
boards.org.
boards, TOL boards. I didn't get
It's funny, when we're on the phone with Consolidated, he calls it tall boards, and it's amusing to hear.
And then it's going to be our
First
first
initial,
initial
last name.
and last name?
Yep. I believe everybody on this commission has the same one as before. There's a couple of people who's changed, but I don't believe anybody on this will be there. And your old email will be transferred into your new email box, so you will not lose any of it. And there will be a period of forwarding where people, if they have your old email, it will be forwarded directly to your email box, to your new one.
So what's also nice about this, if you haven't already done this, so you can now easily take your emails, which are replies and everything are concatenated together and they're hard to see. You'll see them better,
Mm-hmm.
and you can drop those into folders. So you can drop all your agendas into a folder. Matter of fact, you can have it auto sort. It'll key on a word, it'll put it in there. The minutes John send out, it'll key in the word draft, and it's a lot easier. So Chris does a lot of work, and she can give you tech tips.
You can do a number of different things, and I'll certainly help you make it as simple or as complicated as you like it. That's what we're here for. Yeah, Paul?
Oh, sounds good.
What's your preference on the best way to reach you with a question or whatever?
You can reach me via email, which is my first initial K, my last name Hildonen, HILDONEN, and that's at the standard londonderrynh.org. Or you can call me on my extension here at town is 153. Please feel free to use either of those.
I got a home phone if you want that.
It's on my business card. It's not that hard to find.
I won't ask what time of day she doesn't want us to call.
Yeah, yeah.
So the staff email stays the same.
The staff email will actually change as well, but we're transitioning after you. So we are actually splitting the client into two. We're going to tolboards.org for boards and commissions, and londonderrynh.gov for staff and select election officials and council. So,
Instead of org.
yeah. And it has to do with who needs to use what resources around here mostly. The government client is, I believe, and Tom will yell at me if I get this wrong, but I believe the government client is slightly more expensive, and it comes with a higher rate of security. But it integrates better with our desktops that we have to use the full software package on around here. Most board and committee people don't use our desktops and our laptops, so a cloud-based online access to Office applications works best for you. So that's why we've decided to split them into two clients. It helps us improve our security capabilities as well and reduces our exposure in the case of a security breach.
But the public still has access to.
Public will still be able, yep, absolutely. So if you've noticed our website, anything that's come out recently, it says londonderrynh.gov. So our website has both .org and .gov right now, so we've begun that migration over to that client and on the back end already. So if you go through the town report, for example, every single link, from every single report says londonderrynh.gov versus .org. So we've already begun that process of acclimating the public.
Good,
And any other questions?
so I do have one comment. I've been trying to accommodate some of the members who haven't made it over to the londonderrynh.org email address. I'm going to say regularly, it's done. When we go to this new email address, it's done. If you miss something, you miss something, okay?
And I can also help you set up email forwards. Again, and this is, like I said in the email, we do say that use of town email for board and commission business is not optional. It's
Right.
required, and there's a number of reasons for that. One is for easy access to information. If somebody no longer is able to access it, it's in order to comply with 91A and records retention policies. And it's also for your protection, so nobody is going to go after your own personal emails if you're using those and they don't believe that you've disclosed everything. So there's a number of reasons. It makes everybody's life easier. You're welcome to set it up to forward to your personal email so you can read it to make sure you get it. But again, we ask that you send all emails having to do with board business from your Town of Londonderry account. And as we move on to this new client, I've been a little lax in necessarily enforcing it. I've been helping people, but moving forward, it's going to become more of a enforcement than just encouragement. Just make sure that we're complying with all those state laws and all those transparency requirements.
And also remember that it'll work, it'll be, okay, explain this, on your phone, but it'll look a lot like what your desktop is on your phone. It's much more similar.
So you can set it up both places,
Yes, you
obviously.
can.
Yes. Yep. And I can, any of you who I've helped with your phone, I will happily do that again. And it's very easy to get it on your phone on the Outlook app. Very easy. I did have one last thing that has nothing to do with email
I can
addresses.
just
Oh, go ahead.
jump in, so to your comment, Mr. Chair, we do have a small group of people who just don't like to use computers, who struggle to use computers. We're happy, I think you would agree, more than happy to print out materials for people if they want to come in and get them. I don't want to make that, a practice that just everybody follows because it's not without cost and administrative burden, but there are, we recognize that there are people who just are not quite as far down the technology road as others, I guess is the way I would put it. And so, we're here to assist and accommodate, and Kirsten is great at doing that.
Great.
as is-
Thank you for offering that.
Yep. I do have, two last things. One, thank you for accepting the same leadership, so I don't need to change your name tags. It makes me happy. And two, one other note. We've had some concerns from the public about recorded meetings and people not being able to hear what people are saying, either because they're sitting back from the mic like this, or because the mic is here, or here, or here. Sorry, everybody at home. I don't know if you noticed when I sat down, I readjusted the mic and kind of calibrated my distance until I could hear myself. We just ask that when you're speaking at the meetings, you please try to use the microphones as much as possible. Feel free to move them back when you're not talking. But please remember, there actually are lots of people at home who go and watch these through. And it's awesome if they can hear you and the wonderful things you say with the clarity that you say them in this room. So thank you.
So I have an unrelated question as well.
All right, fire away.
So we have a number of subcommittees that, and we typically we have been meeting on Saturdays for the two active subcommittees right now. What's the opportunity to come into Town Hall and use Sunnycrest or another conference room on a Saturday morning?
That can be talked about.
Yeah, I think that can be arranged so we are, for a town board or committee that wants to meet in here on a Saturday morning, that can be arranged in advance so that the door can be
Absolutely,
opened
yeah, absolutely arranged in advance.
And then, there's an additional lock, obviously, on the Sunnycrest door that we could make arrangements for. But that's a reasonable request, and we'd certainly be happy to assist with that.
Because I know I've used that in a conference room in the past for other committees, and they do have the recording capability in there
They do
as
have
well.
recording capability, and they also have display capability in there. It's in a little bit of an awkward spot, but you can actually plug in a laptop and use the TV in there for a display as well. So,
And we've been using the library, and they won't let us reserve rooms in advance over there. And so it'd be nice to know that we have a home when we have a meeting, so that would work out well for us in that
won't be a
regard as
problem.
well.
yeah, and certainly our preference is that we conduct town committee meetings within town hall.
Yep.
And yeah, I certainly can work on getting the door access set properly. I would just need some advance notice on that.
Yep,
So
and we'll work with you on that.
excellent. Yeah, you and I can talk offline. Actually, I'll see you tomorrow morning
Yep.
for the walkthrough. All right. If there's nothing else, I'm gonna go home.
Are you gonna turn presence on? Microsoft Presence?
What?
It's that little tool, it's basically this little icon that says, oh, Lynn's at home. Oh, Lynn's on the phone. Oh, Lynn's
Oh,
No.
no. I already have one of those that does this here with my phone. I'm good. One's enough for people to be able to find me. So,
done.
yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back over to Mike, and then I'm going to go home. But as always, please do not hesitate to reach out for me. Ray knows anytime I'm in my office, I'll chat with you. Lynn stopped by too. So, come on by. Happy to work with you. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, thanks.
Thank you, Kirsten. Mike, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. I don't have anything specific to discuss. I mean, I think I'll just highlight the fact that we taped the television program with John. You were present, Ray was present, Jeff, and I thought it went very well. I thought it was very informative. A little bit of a longer form presentation, so and I was glad that we sort of laid the groundwork for what is PFAS, why are we concerned about it. John did a great job with that. And then a nice back and forth that we had the opportunity to get into some of the detail that I think people are interested in. So I thought it went well.
It was all our notes, by the way. That was all our research together was the Q&A.
Right,
Okay,
right,
thank you.
right. Yeah, obviously a collective effort, so that was a positive thing, I think. We had, obviously, the water meeting last night that some of you were in attendance for. All the feedback we got about the water meeting, I got from the state was from the some of our guests who have participated in similar projects in other communities. They've never seen such a community effort. They've never seen certainly the town staff and the town boards and committees coming together really in a professional manner to provide accurate and timely information about a project like this. So great feedback. I think it was a great look for Londonderry. And as I said last night, now it's time for the voters to decide, and that's exactly how it should work.
Yep. Okay, great.
So, Mike, I sent a late notice to the water subcommittee, and I said we need to get working on video number 2. I have some suggestions. Collaboratively, we have to get together. My thoughts were we need to up it a little bit on the technical part and have hers do a little more so people understand it's a little more than you think. Here's the aspects and then the medical and all that kind of stuff. Part 2 would be, let's see what happens on Saturday, and then we can then take and say, oh, it passed, here are the next steps,
Yep.
here's what the expectations are, and things
Yep.
like that. So, want your input, but
Yeah.
from the whole board and go from there.
So I've been, thinking a lot about this, and we did I did the spot with the speaker and Representative Thomas. We did the one that we all did at the cable studio. The infographic, we segmented that off from the lantern and pushed that out. And then we had the water meeting last night that we're chopping up and putting out as different segments. I think that we're reaching the point where we need to be concerned about information overload this close to the election. I think that there are a couple of 1 or 2 discrete points that perhaps we want to emphasize. That's based on some feedback that I got from people who haven't been living with this for the last year or 2 years, which is people who came down last night and were maybe reading the warrant article for the first time. Gosh, that $24 million number hits you immediately, and you know, we made the point last night that that is not certainly the amount that the community is looking for, but we have to understand as well that a lot of voters are going to be seeing that number for the first time and trying to sort through that language on their own for the first time, maybe haven't seen some of the discussions that have been had. Is there a way to maybe, you know, perhaps, and we're working on this just to kind of brainstorm it. Is there a way to make that point, which is, you know, in a graphical fashion that is not cluttered up with a bunch of other information? We're not asking for $25 million. That's not the proposal. The proposal is for a $2.95 million loan. And the first year's debt service, we're talking about $215,000, $0.034 on the tax rate. So I think that point is perhaps the one point that I think is still worth making. I mean, I could talk, you know, we could all talk about this for hours and hours, but we have to be concerned at this point that we're overburdening people with information, that it's going to all start to kind of blend together. And that's my perspective on it at this late stage in the game. I think I think that, again, let me just emphasize, as I always do when we talk about this, that I'm not here to tell anybody how to vote. I don't think any of you are here to tell anybody how to vote. We just want to make sure that people have accurate information so that they can make an informed decision. But you know, I do think that we need to be. I think we've given it. I think we've got a pretty good shot at this point. I think it's you know, let's not kind of dilute the good work that's been done to this point. That's my perspective. I know that, you know, some others feel that way. Others may feel differently. But I think we want to be careful not to, you know, overdo it.
Are you said some sort of graphic. Are you thinking that the town would put together one-page sort of fact sheet on this? Is that the direction you're going in?
So I would say that the infographic that we used last night
Yeah,
and in the Lantern, I think that is the fact sheet.
okay.
But there's a lot of information there, and you have to be pretty interested in this topic, I think, or to work your way through that, even that whole 2-page document. So I guess what I envision is the primary. I think a lot of people feel, and I think Councilor Dunn, that you have made this point in the past. A lot of people feel like that the way that we have to phrase the warrant article, that $25 million number is going to confuse and alarm a number of people.
Right.
And if there's a task that is left to be done, it is to, or confusion that is left to be clarified, I think it is that.
I agree.
I would agree.
And so what I envision is something much narrower, something much, you know, with less other information around it that just underscores the point. The town is not asking for $25 million.
Very clearly on that, and that is being shown on cable TV. So hopefully people will pick up on that.
I think that you're correct. I mean, I think that the people who watch will come away with that conclusion. But unfortunately, every
Not
one of the
everybody
3,000 or
watches.
4,000 voters will not have watched. I mean, that's just the unfortunate reality. So,
Right.
but may, you know, may not watch a 2-hour presentation, but
Right.
if a graphic comes across on
what he's
Facebook
saying is-
and it takes
saying
15 seconds to scan and get the point,
Isn't that what he's saying?
then you're maybe reaching more people.
So is this going up on the town? This is up on the
That
town
is up.
website?
Yep, that is up.
Okay.
On the town's website, on the water page, on Facebook. And it was, if I recall correctly, I watched the YouTube of the video last night after I got home. I believe that it's blasted up on the screen.
Yep, it did.
On the playback.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So, observation, thought, and suggestion. So, as these characters have been dragging me along to educate me, I started thinking about one of the biggest problems we had, and that is education. You know, even tonight, Ron, we were talking like, well, 100 people looked at it, and that's an issue. So that's part one. Part two is what we're gonna do to get that message out about, guys, it's 235,000. Just think about that. That's all it is, all right? Part three is a regional awareness, and this is what I think we might have missed on. I would have loved it if WMUR TV came to do an interview right before that meeting and made it more regional.
Yeah.
Because really, this pipeline is going to help the region. I don't think it's too late. So I'm gonna give you a suggestion. If we get a hold of WMUR and say, you know, the lead-in, the story is big vote coming up in the town of Londonderry. However, this is a major impact to the region. The voters may decide in Londonderry for a minimal amount, $235,000, that this could affect everything. And I think that would be a great lead story to hit TV before the Saturday vote.
It's a good suggestion. So MUR and other press were invited to the event.
Right.
But I think perhaps some outreach like that, you know, makes.
I don't know who has the contacts. I used to in the sports pod, but that's
Yeah.
the sports pod. But.
Yeah, we could certainly look into that.
And then you could
Make sure
script, you
what-
could script exactly what you want to
Right,
say.
and that's the concern that's always the concern is this electioneering line that you can walk up to it, but you can't walk over it.
Right.
And, you know, we have to be, and we just have to be cautious of that. But
Fine,
I
then
think
you
it's-
lead in and Lynn follows up, or one of us, and say,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
we don't cross the election ticket line.
And so I'll add that to my list of things to consider this week. The other thing I would say is, yeah, if you pull up the viewer, you know, how many people have viewed this video, it can be a bit discouraging. But I think what happens is, you know, 100 of the most interested people view the video, and then they talk to 100 of their friends. And I do think there's some of that happening. I can feel that there is some momentum that is, you know, that didn't exist maybe even 3 weeks ago, and that's natural. But I do think that people are talking about this, and I think that, you know, if certain motivated people interact with this content, whether it's the infographic or the video or what have you, any one of the videos, and, you know, are motivated and they're advocating for this with other people that they know, I think that some of that is happening as well.
Can we put the script up there too, and a couple of fact sheets on PFAS and PFOA
Sure.
on the
Yeah,
website?
absolutely. Yeah, if you send me that information, we'll put it
We
up.
have
on-
the script.
And Jeff finished the last meeting, because send it to Lynn, we'll review it and put it on our own Facebook
Yeah.
thing, and the town Facebook.
Yep.
Does anybody go to our old Facebook thing?
I don't know if anybody has the counter turned on, Jeff's not here, so I don't know.
Well, I can get on it, and it does tell me if people viewed it.
Oh,
It
Facebook?
will
Right.
tell me,
Right.
People are
Yeah.
actually looking at it.
people are looking
Maybe
at
not
it.
thousands, but people look
Yeah,
at it.
yeah, and what you have to look at is the reach as well, because the views is not necessarily indicative of, you know, how many people have interacted. It's a little bit wider than that.
Yep.
So to come up with this graphic that you're talking about that simplifies it, is that something that we should work on all together? Is the town working on that, or?
We started working on it today, based on some feedback that I got from people who were not in the middle of this.
Yeah.
And I thought it was valid feedback.
Okay.
Which is that if you haven't heard about this and you're
Correct.
walking and you see $25 million and you don't,
Right,
I mean, we've talked about this from the beginning, which is that's a
Correct.
confusing way to
Yeah.
present that
exactly,
request.
exactly.
So we started working on it today. Time is short at this
Yes,
point, so
yeah.
you know, I think that you want to get something out that's going to have time to kind of saturate, and people are going to interact with it. So I think it's simple, it's straightforward enough that, you know, we can certainly handle it. I don't think that there's a lot of nuanced messaging that needs to take place there, and I don't want to, you know, I don't want to committee the thing to death and then send it out, you know, on Friday in advance of. So if we're going to do it, I think it needs to be done pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And how are you planning on getting it out? What websites are you planning on
Well,
putting
we
it
post
on?
everything on our town Facebook
Town.
page.
Right.
We post everything on the town, for the most part, on the town website, and you know, that is how we interact electronically at this point in time. Maybe there's a town Twitter account. I certainly have never used it or seen it. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Instagram. I think.
No. But
Well,
but
I'm
other
just wondering,
people-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Other people, for example, I'm sort of interested in what's going on in town. So there's other, like Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
Londonderry
Yep,
moms.
yep, that's right.
So if this graphic could
Yep,
come out,
yep.
and I'll maybe come by tomorrow
Yeah,
and talk to you
yeah.
about it, that then I could pick it up and share it on.
Yes.
Okay.
And we did post, I believe, the infographic, you have to send it and request that they allow it to go out, I believe, but we did on Londonderry NH and Londonderry NH Moms, is my understanding, that the infographic was
Okay.
on both.
Okay,
Yeah.
because this, I
That's a
think it would
pretty
be a
big
good
group,
idea
yeah.
if this could go there too, just
Yep.
because I think it does reach a lot of people.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the one thing that I think is worth looking
I
at this point in time.
totally agree with
Otherwise, I think that, everybody's done, this whole strategy came together pretty quickly, I think, in the last month. Obviously, it's part of a much larger discussion, but I think the messaging and the informational strategy has come together. It's been targeted. I think it's been effective, but we need 3/5, and that's always been the issue.
Because we could simplify it in turn, like I don't know who did, the Department of Revenue, is that who says that you have to put the whole project in?
Yep.
Okay, but if we're not really, we don't have to follow that for this purpose that you're talking
Correct.
about.
Correct.
So we could,
Correct.
like, really cut it down into,
Yes.
this is what it
Exactly.
really
I
means.
think that's what he's working, you guys
Yeah,
are working on
okay.
it.
And, let me say this, I think I maybe have made this point in the past, which is the way that we have to write this warrant article,
Yep,
I think it's a double-edged sword, because it shows how small the town's portion of the project is relative to the other dollars that are being spent. So if you can get past the initial sticker shock,
Yeah.
and it's not even sticker shock, it's just like shock at the number, because that's not ultimately the number, then it does place it in proper perspective, I think, and that's beneficial to the town.
So it's like 25% of the cost, whatever the magic number is.
Yeah, it's small, I mean, it's
13,
smaller, yeah,
yeah.
For $1, you get 8 back.
correct,
That's what
Yeah.
you want to tell people.
exactly.
There's a sale this week, go vote.
This is an investment.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a big
Right.
investment, yeah,
Yep.
for little money.
Where else can you get 8 times your money back?
Yeah,
At
Yeah,
1% interest and,
a
yeah.
CD doesn't pay that,
It sure doesn't.
Anything else?
No, I
us?
think the only thing I would say is it's been really helpful to work with the committee on this. I think that you've been a force multiplier, and I'm really happy with the collaboration and the cooperation. I really feel like the community has come together on this to some extent, which is refreshing.
Good. We're here to serve. You know, the only way we can help is to get involved, so.
Yes, and I guess not to put the cart before the horse, but I think as I said last night, this is a distribution project. Step one is to get the water supply to where it's needed.
Yep.
I don't think anybody questions that it's needed in this area of town. And then it needs to be a community decision about where and when it goes next into these neighborhoods, and I think that's where this committee can do a lot of work.
And I thought I heard correctly, will there be state monies available for people who say, we were talking about this, well, the trunk line is in,
Yep.
now you have 1, 2, 3, 10
Yep.
streets that are button that.
I
Can
believe
those-
so. Yeah, I believe so. I don't think there's going to be $8 million, in any given year, $7-8 million in any given year. But the state revolving fund does an annual cycle. The trust fund does an annual cycle plus a special project.
That's fine. yeah.
That would be distributing into a neighborhood that has a PFAS contamination problem is a special project. You can do that anytime, or you can make that application anytime. So yes, I think, and as I think Senator Morse put it last night, if the EPA is going to regulate down to 4 parts per trillion, you would hope that there would be some federal money accompanying that stricter requirement.
Good.
I hope I sent Mike a little question thing and I put on the bottom, if you don't want to ask this, don't ask it. I'm already worried about the 4 parts per trillion, and I don't think he understood my question, that's my fault. What happens if the 4 parts per trillion is in the reservoir? That's
Right,
my concern.
right,
They're gonna have to
right.
clean it.
And then do
before
we
it
have the
goes out.
technology for mass filtration? That's my concern.
Right.
Are we looking that far ahead?
And that was, yeah, I mean,
We,
I think what I heard was, I mean, so our water right now is coming from Manchester Waterworks. I don't know, I just don't know the answer whether there's any PFAS contamination in Lake Massabesic. I haven't heard that that's the case, but if it is, it's getting filtered out before it comes down to us. So I think that there's what DES said last night was easier to treat at that single point.
Yes.
Expensive, perhaps, like in all likelihood, but I'm not aware if that's an issue at this point or not.
I know we're gonna have it on our plate, but still.
And I would say, I think that's something that's across the country. That
Exactly.
utilities are looking at. So, I mean, it is a known issue that lots of people are trying to tackle,
Yep.
so, yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes knowledge can make you scared.
No kidding.
but there's a lot of work being done on technologies to deal with PFAS and PFOA. I sent a couple of documents out to folks. So.
Yeah,
hopefully it will
we're
catch
in
up.
the early days still. I mean, even, the history that you gave us, it's still early days of us really wrestling with this as a nation.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on. We'll get into subcommittee discussions. We'll start with the Energy Subcommittee. I'll take a shot at it. It's been a little while since we've had a meeting. I think we're due at this point in time for a meeting, but we are still moving forward with the Community Power Aggregation Program. I did get some slides in from the Colonial Power Group to support a public hearing. They went out, I got some comments back, I fed them back to the people who needed to look at those. They appreciated our feedback, and they're making the appropriate changes. We had talked a little bit about having our first public hearing, actually this month. That's not gonna happen. We had talked about it at the, I think, March 16th meeting, town council meeting. That's not gonna happen. But I think once we get the slide deck back with their presentation, then we'll work with, Ron will work with the town council.
Absolutely.
And get that scheduled, I think. But,
Are they planning on giving a presentation to the town council before they do the public meeting?
I think we need to figure out how we want to proceed with that. I think we have some time at this point in time to still make that decision.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
It's, honestly, at this point in time, with the new rate structure that Eversource came out with, PSNH, Eversource came out with, it's probably not the best time to roll this program out. So there's no sense of urgency to do this. I would rather do it right at the right time than to try to push something forward for just the sake of pushing it forward. So I think we have enough time to make some educated decisions about how we move forward with this. But I still think it's a very valid program to move forward with. I think we all agree with that on the subcommittee. And so, onward and upward. Just a couple of other items, unrelated items that have come up recently. Mike sent us a press release this morning regarding the Twin States project, hydro project coming down from Quebec. Sounds like that's a dead deal
It sounds like.
at
Yep.
this point in
There's more to
time.
that story than that will come out. I don't know. I mean, I was surprised how abruptly it went away. I mean, it seems like there was a lot invested in this in terms of the rollout and what have you, and all of a sudden,
Well, what surprised me was that, the United States side seemed to pull out National Grid, but there was also some feedback or some pushback from the Hydro-Quebec people saying, we may not have
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
supply that we thought we would have.
yeah.
So it's like, it's coming from both sides.
And I think, I mean, I think it was, so certainly the town council was skeptical about this. They didn't say no, but they didn't say yes, and that
Yep.
was the request, was, hey, can you say yes? And a lot of other communities did.
Yep.
Heartily endorsed this. I think this committee, the approach of, it's way too early for us to really weigh in on this, I mean, was exactly right. And so, well, a lot of communities have a little bit of egg on their face, and we don't because of that cautious approach. And I think everybody got it exactly right.
I think it was interesting, at the last meeting, Ray expounded upon, the state used to have a lot of its own hydropower, and it's not being used, and yet we're looking outside, and,
Yep.
I think we should be doing some pushing in-state, so.
I think we all need to look at the really big picture. Who the big power companies are, and who's controlling it, and when we're talking about, even bringing hydropower down from Canada, sounds like a great idea, clean power, but we need to think about what we have in the state of New Hampshire and who has control of it. And it's concerning. We have a power plant right here in Londonderry that one would think we should be getting relatively low-cost power from, or at least a break on, and we're not. And I think we should have say in that. So there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to think about what power is being used, particularly hydropower right here in the state of New Hampshire. We have the Merrimack River flowing by here in Manchester, and we have the wastewater treatment plant in Manchester. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to bring it up to date, and their electric bill is probably the highest one in Manchester. And yet we have the Merrimack River flowing by, and we, in the state of New Hampshire, have very little control over that because the big power companies have control of that. Some of that is out of this country. So all of us really kind of need to look at the big picture and see what the heck is going on. By the way, these big power companies have investors. And they have to answer to them. They also need to answer to us. They're providing a vital service. And they have a right to make a profit, that's fine. But they're providing a vital service, and they have to charge a reasonable cost. And I think we have a right to have input in that regard. We have the Department of Energy here in the state of New Hampshire. And we have a right to ask questions about that. What are they doing? What is the control? When Eversource goes to the PUC and asks for an increase, it has to be justified. We have a company right here in Londonderry. What is the gas company right here in Londonderry?
Liberty Utilities.
Liberty went and asked for an increase in natural gas. They asked for an increase in electrical. They're also in the business of wastewater treatment plants. They're not a small company just here in Londonderry. They're a national company. They're actually have businesses outside of the United States. They're the big guys.
So let me ask you a question, Ray. A lot of what you're talking about sounds really interesting. It's way above our pay grade. Is it worthwhile getting Doug Thomas or somebody from from Concord to come down here and talk to us and tell us what's going on at that level?
Absolutely. And by the way, personally, I think what we should do is there is a consumer advocate, okay? I mean, I've spoken to him.
You mean within
He
the
indicated
PUC?
he would be willing to come here,
In the state,
okay?
PUC.
yeah.
And to help inform us to understand some of this, okay?
Give me his name, and we'll put an invite out.
His
Yeah,
name is
I mean,
Don Priest.
absolutely. I mean,
Don Crease is his name.
Yeah,
How do you spell
there you
it?
go.
K-R-I-E-S, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. I mean, so he's the advocate between the power company and the ratepayer,
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
He's a pretty smart guy. He knows what's going on.
Yep.
And, of course, his opinion could differ from ours. It could be differ from the utility company.
Yep.
But we need to listen to
Let's-
somebody that's in the middle,
Yeah, let's get some
which is
people in here.
a
Let us
consumer
know.
advocate.
Sure. Let's get
Why
them in
not
here.
take advantage of that?
Yep, absolutely. Yep, we're not gonna design a dam here on the Merrimack River on this committee, right?
No, but there's a lot, we got a lot of dams.
No, all I'm saying is,
No, no,
We can do it.
you're damn right we can.
Saturday, Sunday, hey, no
but
problem.
let's get some folks in here and talk to us. And I think Doug Thomas would be a great place to start, and I'll
Well-
put an invitation out to Don Crease as well.
Sure, absolutely.
It'd be a good catch.
He'd be great.
Okay, good. Good. Another energy-related topic is, we had a company, Nobis Engineering and Luminia. It's a combination of a finance and an engineering, I'll call it a consortium for lack of a better word, set of companies that are out in the business of putting in solar farms. And they approached us regarding the Auburn Road landfill site. They have some history here in Londonderry with that site. They had a project, I don't know if they proposed the project back in 2017. They had some financial issues, they went away, now they're coming back. I've invited the gentleman from Nobis Engineering to come to our April meeting, and he'll be here in April to talk to us about their vision of that project.
Is this Tony Ginta?
Yeah.
Did you do the walkthrough of that
That's
property yet?
tomorrow morning.
Oh, that's tomorrow
Yeah,
morning.
and I was gonna say, tomorrow morning, I set up a walkthrough at Auburn Road for those of us who haven't walked that site. John Trotter is gonna meet me there.
I'm not gonna walk over there.
Yeah, make sure you get special boots on.
Yeah,
Yeah, rain boots,
we're gonna
yeah.
be wearing our white boots and white suits, but just to
Yeah.
get a walkthrough to see what.
Are you
the lay of the
walking
land is.
outside,
I have no idea what we're going to do.
outside the
Well,
fence?
I have
or-
no idea what we're going to do. I'm sure it's gonna be inside the fence, but we're gonna be safe.
I was only kidding, but.
Oh, no, I wouldn't kid around.
We're still not clear on that?
What do you mean clear on it? It's
Well,
a
like the
super
Hudson
fun
thing,
site.
the Hudson thing, they said that there was enough fill and, leached out or whatever, that they built on it. But I didn't know the status of the old.
I don't know how thick it is there.
All right.
Yeah.
And so I'm meeting with John tomorrow. Anybody is welcome to
time?
meet us 8:00 at the gate on Auburn Road. Yep,
Which
So-
gate?
on Auburn Road.
Okay.
I think there's only one gate on Auburn. There's only one gate that I'm aware of on
Not a
Auburn
lot
Road.
of parking though.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of
that's true. It
different
is a little-
sections of that landfill.
That's, I don't know it, so the whole idea is just to see what's there in my mind at this point in time. So that's happening tomorrow morning, for anybody who's interested. Yeah, I had,
Who's giving you
It's
the tour?
not a quorum.
right.
Or if you have a quorum, you
Well,
have to.
I asked for people who were interested in coming so we could notify.
Is somebody from DES gonna be there?
No, just John and I, just want to see what it looks like.
All right. It's a site walk, right?
It's a sidewalk.
Right, so a quorum can't convene to discuss or deliberate on a matter under their jurisdiction. So if a quorum shows up and just walks around, probably not a technical violation, not a great look, but you can't open your mouth.
Point well taken. We may have to schedule two.
You
If
can't
you're-
make any
if-
decisions.
If you're interested in coming, let's make it this way. If you're interested in coming, let me know at the end of the meeting and we'll figure it out. Okay? So that we don't involve any,
How are you gonna, I'm just curious, how are you gonna get into the fence if the fence is
I
locked?
assume that we have a. key
Wire
to the
wire
lock.
clippers.
Yeah, sneak in at 12 o'clock at night and I'll just.
See how the security is.
I assume we have, I don't know the answer to that because I'm not,
It is a
don't have a
Superfund
key.
site.
It is,
Yeah,
yeah,
but we
that's
do-
why I was wondering if DES or EPA or.
not to make it too complicated, we do have I believe a model airplane flying club that uses that site as well.
Really?
So, yeah. And that's been in the case Flying Tigers, they've been there for a number of years.
All right, good.
So
At the next meeting, shut off the lights to see if he glows,
yeah.
okay?
So if you're not comfortable going, I'm good with that, but right now, John and I are meeting there tomorrow morning. If you are interested, please let me know at the end of this meeting, okay? And we'll figure things out.
Thank you. My blood pressure went down.
I'm supposed to go to a meeting up in Concord at 7 o'clock.
Oh, the water meeting? I'll be there.
And other than that, I don't have anything for this, to talk about, on the Energy Subcommittee. Mike, you have a couple things you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I would. The town of Jaffrey is contracting with Revision Energy to create what's called a community solar farm. So the idea is that they will set this farm up. It's for sure the biggest community solar farm in the state. I don't know if it's overall the biggest. But the idea is that they will then sell shares in this farm. So if you're a renter that can't have his own array, if you're in a house that's shaded and you can't feasibly put something up, this would be an opportunity for you to then have the benefit of a solar array without having to put it up on your house. So you would just buy a share. And I think conceivably, if we wanted to do this, say up at Auburn Road, the town could buy whatever number of shares it thought was appropriate in the hope of reducing its own bill, or at least reducing it, for sure, its carbon footprint. So my suggestion would be that we talk to the young lady that worked with us before when Revision was here on that project, and see if a community solar farm would be something feasible for us to do. Just a very informal conversation. And then if they respond positively, we might invite them to just talk to the full committee, and same kind of deal, see what's going on. Now, as Paul has pointed out, there's a lot of devils in details in this. You die, where does your share go? Who gets the RECs? There's a lot of things that would have to be worked out, and it could be worked out, could be negotiated. But it seems like a good way to get things started, and it reduces the upfront capital cost, because the shareholders are basically providing the capital instead of the town doing it. Or in contrast to what we're gonna hear at our next meeting, just leasing land and leaving all that value on the table. So that's topic one, and if there's a consensus on the committee, I'll approach them and see if they wanna come and talk to us about that.
Can I just make a suggestion? If we're talking about doing this on a federal Superfund site,
Yes,
if
well,
you're talking about Auburn,
it wouldn't have to be there, but that seems like an obvious place to start.
yeah, I'm just suggesting that if we do that, we should get a copy of the record of decision, the final record of decision on that Superfund site,
Yep.
and look at the institutional controls. There's usually a whole section on
Right,
records of
right.
decision, Superfund sites on both state and federal institutional controls.
Right.
And we just have to make sure that we're not doing anything that wouldn't be approved
Right.
under the record of decision.
Right.
Does
the
the town
Not
have that
difficult
already,
to do.
Mike?
Yeah,
Do you know if the town has that?
You guys
I think
probably
we
do for the
But in any
It's-
event,
it's
there's an
online.
online repository, is my understanding as well.
Yeah.
We'll provide that to the committee.
I think they
Yeah.
provide a copy to the library as well.
They're required under the community relations policy to do
Right.
that, to put
Yep.
it on,
It's
in
on
library.
disc. It's on disc at the library.
Library.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. I have to excuse myself and deal with a matter, if there's no more questions for me.
Thank you for,
Thank you.
Thank you for
your
coming.
time, Mike. Appreciate it.
So one of the companies that briefed us earlier, I think it was in this committee and not the predecessor, but they specialized in doing solar arrays on Superfund sites. And so
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing that they did a little homework before they came to us with
Sure
that.
hope so.
So that's leads into my issue number 2. The state has asked for comments on the federal home energy grants. So there's 2 large federal programs that are part of the Inflation Reduction Act that are directing, I think it's something like 30-some billion dollars nationwide. And I think this New Hampshire share is like 35 million into rebate programs. And there's two. One is for, working on your house, insulation, new furnace. There's another, and then another one that's, new stove, refrigerator, energy efficient appliances.
Heat pump. Heat pump. Those heat pumps were listed too. That's a big one.
Oh,
right?
is it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, heat pumps.
Yep.
Yep, yeah, and actually even heat pump water heaters. So the state has the obligation to apply for this grant, which is kind of like what we were doing with our energy efficiency and conservation block grant. So they have made their application, I believe, but they are now soliciting comment on when we get this money, because it's a block grant, they just to meet the requirements. How should we go about dispersing it? So, because it's all household-based, my first thought was, well, this really isn't a topic for the utility committee to consider. However, remembering what I just talked about in terms of a community solar farm, right now, I took about an hour and a half and read through this federal regulation, which is intimidating, to say the least. But I couldn't find any provision in there that would allow a person to get help buying a share of, you're not putting it in your house, right? It's not an array on your roof, it's not a water heater in your basement. It'd be a share on something, which seems like a desirable thing. But I think the state would have to go to the feds and say, we would like in our program to allow individuals to buy shares in community solar farms, and that would fall under the eligible uses of these grant funds. So the comments are due, unfortunately, I think March 12th. What I'd like to do is draft for Lynn's submission from the London Area Utilities Committee, a comment that just pertains to that one issue, that we think that community solar farms are a good idea, and we would like to make sure that the block grant allows for people to get help to buy shares in it. And we'll just limit it at that. I'll draft it, and then Lynn could review it and send it in by March 12th. If there's a consensus on the committee that that's a good idea.
Are you suggesting this is for that $69 million?
If it's that much, I thought it was more like 35 million.
No, it's 34 and 34.
Yeah, okay, right.
For a total of 69.7.
Right.
Just
right,
for
right.
New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Yes,
New
just
Hampshire.
the state's share. The nationwide, I think it's something like 65 billion, right? Isn't it?
It's, it's 8,800,000, no, it's 8 billion,
Oh, 8 billion.
800 million
Okay, sorry.
totally,
Yeah, I'm off. then.
nationally.
Yeah. But our share is fixed, it's.
Well, I'd make a motion that we consider having, making a comment to the effect that Mike spoke about.
Cool. Anybody second that?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on it? And all in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? Looks like you have a job to do.
Yes, I think so.
Good, good. Thank you for stepping up to do that.
Can I ask a question? I'm not on the utility committee, but,
You're on the
But-
utilities.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
well, yeah, yes, I am.
In
Yes,
fact, you're voting tonight, right?
Okay. My question is this. Say a city or town has a wastewater treatment plant, and they want to put a solar farm on part of it, which I think Peterborough or some of the towns have done.
Yeah, Manchester did it.
Manchester did it, right. So, could the town use all the electricity that they made from that solar farm to help run the electricity burden they have on their wastewater treatment plant rather than selling it back to the utility. Now, I've heard that, you know, if we go with a particular plan, like maybe Revision, they say you can't do that.
I'm gonna
The
maybe look
community
at Paul, I
power.
don't know if you have an opinion on that, Paul?
The community power folks said you can't do
But
that.
from what I know is, if you're creating your own power, you can use your own power.
Well, yeah,
You
and.
don't have to sell it back to the grid.
Yeah, and so that might make sense in certain instances. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you're not gonna make enough, power to perhaps power the whole town, but if you have municipal load,
Yep.
why couldn't that be used? I mean, you still gotta be hooked into the utility, or you gotta have backup generation.
So Ray,
somehow.
I'll defer to him. It's one or the other.
So
You either use it
depends on the
yourself.
contract,
Right.
basically, is what it comes down to.
Right.
And who makes the initial investment into the whole solar array? If you have a third party, and that third party has a contract with the town, that's one approach. The other approach is, you mentioned, it's the town owns it. And if the town owns it, then it can use the power the way it wants.
Right.
Because you own it.
But initially, the cost of putting in the solar farm is gonna be a big, nut to swallow, right? So you probably gotta have a or another company that initially does the installation, and then the rest of the contract has to stipulate how that's done.
And you can negotiate with that company who makes the original investment, so that the power does come to the town if you want the contract structured that way.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.
That's it for me.
Okay. Anything else regarding energy?
I just have a reference for you, that's all. Mr. Crease's, phone number and type.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the Water Subcommittee. Jeff McGraw is traveling tonight, so he wishes he was here with us instead of being on the road, but he's on the road. Anything other than the fact that I think the cable TV show was, I thought, very interesting. I was in the audience of one, and I thought it went very well. I don't know how the participants
John.
felt, but I thought it went very well. So I think it's a great start. I think we have some ideas already for show number 2, and maybe show number 3 and 4. I don't know, but I think it's a great thing to do, and I'm sure our Mr. Drew Karen in the office back there is willing and ready to work with us for the next few episodes.
Yes, thank you, Drew, for doing the edits so quickly and updating the reference points and slides. Thank you.
I just wanted, I did chat with Jeff before he went off on his trip, work trip, and he did mention the meeting for the 16th, that we have a meeting scheduled for the water group on the 16th at the library at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So I just wanted to reinforce that.
16th at 10. Thank you. Anything else on water? I just had a quick conversation with John Bovair. John is the CEO of Pennachuck Waterworks, Pennachuck Utilities. And after the summit last night, and he mentioned to me that they are starting to work on the Spring Road, Gordon Drive, the water tower, water tank, and getting ready to start moving with the water line down through Woodmont. He'd like to come in here in the next couple of months and talk to us and let us know what's going on from his perspective with Pennachuck. And I said, love to have you. We have somebody coming in April, but maybe in May, and he was very amenable to coming in and talking to us in May. But he's been here before to talk to us. I think he's a wealth of information. He can put everything in layman's terms, and I think it's going to be very beneficial.
So
for
Ray, I
us.
did ask them, and they said they got all the EPA clearance, and yes, you're right, they're gonna use an underground pipe to replace the spring. It kind of concerns me, but that's all right.
Is this from the 2 water towers? Ray?
No.
No, okay.
No.
This is the one, right.
This is a water tower up off Gordon Drive, Spring Road, There's a joint venture between Woodmont and Pennachuck. Originally, they're gonna put a tank like 157 feet high. That got shot down.
Because the
They went back and they went and they're gonna meet the zoning regulation of 135 feet high, which is gonna be a lot bigger.
And that's where they're clearing the land. We took a little drive. Ray, it's great to take a drive. 2.5 hour tour we took.
3-hour
No, we drove by your house. It was pointed out to me. He does.
Yeah.
And I took the Ray tour, and it was great. I would suggest to everybody take the Ray tour.
Ready to where I love it.
A 3-hour tour.
So anyway, you know, to me, there's still concern. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing in the long term, because it is gonna be hooked in not only to Woodmont, but it's gonna be hooked in to the rest of the Londonderry system. But there's a lot to it, because they're gonna put in a pump station, it's gonna be on their property, but they're gonna put the water line down Pillsbury, down Hardy, and then over, whatever the hell that name of that road is, that goes over.
Michael's Way.
Huh?
Michael's Way.
No.
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 Well, yes, there is connection to Michael's. So Ray, I got an update on that. It's kind of interesting. So the whole idea was when I did my rebuttal presentation, which kind of killed the whole thing with the planning board and stuff, I did open my mouth and say, why don't you just go to shorty tanks? And they ran with that. And that's a lot better. I still don't like the idea of putting it in a residential area. They are gonna fence it in. The pumps are going to supply that from Mammoth Road. They're not gonna need pumps at the site. And they're gonna do what they call bubble up thing. So basically, so they don't do the head-in pressure, the pipe doesn't come in the bottom of the tank. It basically, they used to put it on the outside, but now for safety, they just run it on the inside. And it spills in, so it aerates the water, and it drops it and it fills it. So you have the nighttime fill, and it's gonna be based upon the 40 to 60 pounds pressure that's already in the main lines, which I was kinda surprised. So when they come, I wanna double check, cause I was worried about, and I told them, I said, guys, I know you're working over there, but I haven't seen you tapped into the 440 volt line, which is already there. He goes, we don't need to. We're not gonna have pumps. I went, oh, okay. And he did say he's gonna connect it to the line that's going over to Michael, so something changed, and we need to check on that. Okay?
Yeah, but the supply is coming from the Mountain Home pump stations. And I'm saying there's still a problem with that, because it's coming through that 8-inch line into a 16-inch line, and the volume and pressure, that's how they're gonna fill the tank, okay?
Where's the Mountain Homes ones? I wanna make sure I got
It's on
this.
Mammoth Road.
It's right in the front.
Yeah. Right in
Yes,
front of-
yes,
Okay.
right.
So that's supplying all the drinking water and fire protection
Yes.
to, basically central Londonderry, here, and Woodmont, and beyond, because then it goes to 102, and goes down as far
It
as.
could be an issue. Ray has a point, because those pumps have to cycle sometimes, and a lot of us in the neighborhood have problems. I put a brand-new garden hose and it blew it up as soon as I put it on. So I don't wanna spend $550 for a water pressure system for my house, so we kinda live with it, so, you know, it's not better, but it's okay. It's in the summertime when all of a sudden the pumps start signaling, they gotta pump harder, that comes all the way from Hudson, Mountain View, and all of a sudden, oh, it's enough pressure, but it's too late. The whole system is charging, it pumps up, pumps down. So you got a point,
Yeah,
small
yeah.
lines present that problem.
And the rest of the story is, really, we should and have the right to know what the town's big plan is, okay? If they have the Weston Sampson plan that is a vision that you can do this, you can do that, you can get the water from here, you can put a tank here, you can do that. But the town needs its own plan. This is where we're gonna move first. This is where we're gonna supply water to. This, step by step, okay? That's the way it should be. The town also needs to open up their master plan, okay? It's going on 11 years old. That is the vision for the town. It's not, it doesn't have a lot of power, but at least it's a vision as to what it's gonna do. And there were recommendations made in there back in 2013 that haven't been moved on in regards to water and sewer. We're in a position to ask questions about that, and we should.
No, we
Because
are.
we need to be knowledgeable, because when I was head of the cable thing, I learned all about overbuilds and what it takes and what you do to save money, not save, and there's gonna be a point in time where we're now all working on the sewage problem, and in the master plan, it's gonna say something like, because we're gonna advise it, oh, by the way, 5 years down the road, that water line that's feeding this tower is not big enough. We are digging up the ground to put in sewage. The master plan needs to include the monies to upgrade that pipe.
Right.
Those are the things we have to look at down the road, my
Absolutely.
thoughts. Right,
And
Okay,
right
and-
now, you've brought up this problem that exists right now with this water tower with an 8-inch pipe going into a 16 or,
Right, and,
So
and,
that's-
and there are two engineering reports that call that out,
Yeah.
okay? Now, they're not up to date, okay?
yeah,
But we should be able to say, here are the reports that call this out. Say there is insufficient fire protection in the town of Londonderry,
yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And is this a problem or is it not, okay? We should ask that question of the fire department. And the fact that this guy is coming in from Pennachuck, he's the head engineer guy. I brought that question up to him at one of the meetings, okay? How about that line? His response, it would cost too much money. You gotta realize that when you're talking about a utility company, they're in the business to make money. They're not gonna invest in anything unless they can see a return, okay? From their point of view, why should they put that line in? Show me where that's gonna be beneficial to,
Well, if it's causing a problem, it's kind of is their problem, and there's all this infrastructure money floating around now.
okay, so we should find out what that is, and how are we gonna find it out? Okay?
So maybe we should bring them in sooner.
Oh,
John and those guys in sooner, to answer some of these questions ahead of time, and maybe we start forcing.
I'm
issues out.
suggesting that they're not necessarily the people that will wanna ask that question of. Because they're gonna take it from their point of view, and I'm not blaming them for that, they're in the business to make money, that's fine.
So who should
Exactly.
we ask?
Okay, one of them is from DES, New Hampshire DES.
Okay,
It's their report. They called it out.
Okay.
They said there was this insufficient, there's a problem with trying to pull the water through Mountain Home Pump Station because of that restriction of that 8-inch pipe. And suggesting that is insufficient fire protection going over, because this is putting fire protection to Woodmont, okay?
yeah.
So
All
do you
right.
have, do you have a
They
name?
called it out.
Ray, do you have a
Which
name?
report?
Who at DEF?
I will give you the
Was
report.
it DES or
DS
Department of
doesn't do
Water?
the
I thought it was the
report.
Department of Water. I
No.
thought it was the Department
No,
of, the
no.
Water Commission.
I'm confused. You mentioned two reports, the
Yep.
Weston Simpson report and the Londonderry Master Plan report.
Yeah.
Now, both of those, the Londonderry Master Plan was probably done by the town of Londonderry,
That's correct.
right?
Well, it was done by a private contractor
Right.
with Londonderry's input.
Right, okay.
It's an
so-
official town, it's an official town report, to answer the question directly. It's an official town report.
Okay. Do we have copies of those reports?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you can get them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Online.
Okay.
yeah, they're online.
Well, you're saying, you're shaking your head no.
No, just go up to the planning department.
And they give you the reports.
Yeah, the master
And
plan.
they're
They're
online.
right
Okay.
there.
And how old is the master plan?
11, 12 years now?
It's
2013?
It was done initially in 2012. It was printed in 2013 and presented as complete.
Okay.
This is 2014, so we're headed for the 11th year.
Yep.
And
Okay.
but the state of New Hampshire says it should be done every 5 and certainly by 10 years. Okay?
Wow, we're doing great so far here. All right, so what about the Weston Simpson report? Is that report tied into the master plan, or is that the
No,
pre?
not yet.
No,
Not
and
yet.
and by the
That's
way,
just a
we
vision.
also did a water quality and water quantity study which we also paid for.
Yep.
One of them was like 35,000, the other one was 30,000, something like that.
Yeah.
The one done by Comprehensive Environmental was done very well, very well. And they made recommendations in the end of it, like you
We've
should do
seen
this, you
those.
should do that.
We've seen those,
As far
yeah.
as I know, the thing's been sitting on the shelf ever since.
Right.
The other one was the water quality one that was done. I think it could have been done a little more thoroughly. It was kind of rushed, and that needs to be looked at too. We paid for that too,
Yeah, we have to look at these things.
okay?
But
So,
What?
we have to look at these things. We've talked about this for a year, right? These
Reviewing
reports.
those
How many
documents.
people have looked at these reports in a year?
Well-
No, and so just bear with me for a second. You and I talk, right?
Yeah,
It's up to us to do something with these.
yes.
You know, we can't go off and task other people to do stuff. Let's figure it out ourselves. You know, we've gotten authorization, maybe the right way, from Mike Malaguti and the town council to go off and start working on the water master plan.
And-
And I'm not gonna say we're the experts. We're not the experts. We're not gonna fill in the blanks, but we can certainly put down what has to be in there and
Questions.
what our vision is.
We can do the
right?
questions.
Yeah.
Ron, is this okay? Because I know the master plan being updated might be a touchy subject with the council. Do we have the okay to start providing all the data and the questions and stuff so we can get moving on it?
You do. Mike gave you the authorization.
At the last meeting, I just
Yeah.
want to make sure, because
Yeah.
it's a touchy subject, so.
And there's, and so I'm on the planning board as well, right?
That's
And
right, too,
there's-
you are.
And there's some effort being looked at right now to reopen that or to get that moving again.
All right.
So,
The master plan?
the master plan,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
And those are two different things. A master
two different
plan
things.
and a master water plan are not the same. They're different.
But it probably includes water,
the water,
doesn't
the
it?
water is a component of the master plan.
Yes.
Yeah, the point I'm trying to make out is the master plan is a document that doesn't have a lot of power. But there are some good recommendations in there, and they should be looked at, and we should ask whoever we need to ask, that would be the engineering department probably particularly, where is the status with that? I mean, you know, respectfully,
right.
we've been given the okay to ask some of these questions.
Absolutely.
And if we send an email to Krista and say, we would like an answer to this question.
Oh, so that goes to me. Those questions don't go to Kirsten, they go to me.
Okay, oh, that's fine, put it to you
But
first.
start asking the questions.
Yeah.
But we,
So,
yeah, so we should get a hold of the master plan and we should think what we have to do.
You know, let's make
By
this
the way, Martha,
actionable. Let's
I
make
want
this
that-
actionable.
Who has the master plan now? You loaned it out.
Department.
by the way, I have a
You
copy
loaned
of it
it.
if you would
Right.
like it.
It's online.
Oh, it's
I mean,
online.
It's online. It's also available here.
I have a hard copy.
Right.
I asked for, it was given to me, okay?
There you go,
By the
great.
planning department.
You didn't have to pay for it? This
No.
you-
Oh, no,
No,
it's a town document.
Yep.
I got a lot of pull in town.
You do, Ray.
Maybe,
So what's
maybe,
the-
So all good points.
Okay.
All good points, and, you know, and I think where I'm going, and, you know, if you, yell at me if you don't agree with this, but let's make this actionable. Right now, we talk about problems, but let's make it actionable. How can we
I'm perfectly
influence?
willing to share any information I have.
Right.
No,
I'm
I-
not saying I know all the
I
answers.
think what Lynn is
because
saying
I
is-
don't.
Who's gonna read it and who's gonna come up with questions?
That, it's now an action item. It's on our list for the
It's on our
water
list of things to
subcommittee.
do. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay? And I know about, because I was around many years ago when this was all happening, because the interesting part about, you say do the water main, wait till the guys start digging over in Spring Road. They're gonna blast, and I'm interested, just like you do, how they're gonna mitigate that. There's a lot of things that go into that master plan, ground studies, runoff studies and everything like that. We're in a much better shape than we were 15 years ago when I was in the town we started this. We didn't have this kind of resource. We relied totally on the town engineer to do that and 15 other jobs. So I think what the town council did by bringing in resources is a great idea.
There are so many questions that
Oh,
we
unbelievable.
really should take advantage to ask the right questions.
Of the right people.
MS4, okay? That's stormwater runoff. The town is required to do
Stormwater
that and
plan,
document it. They were a little behind, now they're raising $100,000 to catch up, okay? We really should know what's going on with that. I mean, we have a right to know that.
That should be.
Stormwater runoff, 80% of water contamination from a water body is caused by stormwater runoff.
Nitrogen from
So-
farmers.
Right, we're gonna get going.
Let's go.
First
Yeah.
case.
All right,
Let's make it happen.
hey, next.
Let's do it right.
Good.
Can I, Mr. Chair?
Absolutely.
A while back, I created a list of consolidated actions recommended by either the master plan or the water quality study or the water quantity study. And provided that to the Conservation Commission, who then provided it to the planning department so that they could take action. And I'm gonna send that to Lynn, who can send it out to you guys, and it's not everything, but there's a lot of the things in there that you're talking about right now, and it's not so much a question of doing research. I think that work's done. It's taking the action, you know. We've gone through another budget session, and I don't know that,
Right.
well, we've
Covered it.
earmarked funds for these various projects, and some of them are fair, there's a few of them have been done, by the way, but, you know, at least it puts some form on what you're trying to get your arms around.
We have a leader, we have a leader. Get him over here. We have a leader.
And
That's
by
great
the way-
info.
By the way,
That's
there's
good, I'd
been-
love to see that, Mike.
By the way, there was $60,000 that has already been appropriated to get starting on the master plan. Nothing has been done, the money is there, and we should point that out and say, please, can we get going on it?
Yeah,
Look,
absolutely.
I was on the
We
master
can.
plan implementation committee along, I think Mike was on it too, right? And then it got shut down.
Yeah, let's go.
So,
But we have a man on the planning board,
Yes.
and we,
Yes.
and
You're the key guy.
and armed with a list of actions, he could raise those.
oh yeah, absolutely,
Good.
absolutely.
In fact, we
So,
have two, right?
So,
so I look at this committee as a committee to get stuff done, not a committee to go off and read reports, right? Reading reports is part of the work to get done.
Right.
But we're here to get stuff done, so that's what I want to do. We gotta figure out how to turn these problems, how to understand these problems and come up with some actionable items to
Well,
address the problems.
we got two key people, you
Yeah.
and him.
You guys?
Yeah,
You know, that are in a unique position. You're on the planning board, right?
yes.
For what,
And you're, what are you?
He's a town councilor and a state rep.
Yeah, he's-
Yes, yes. And so, we have such a unique position to move things forward.
Absolutely.
absolutely. We have some great resources on this committee. So, anyway, anything else regarding water? Okay, that done. Sewer and solid waste, I pinged Mike last week, I said we gotta get going with with the sewer. It's not the master plan, it's the sewer, what's it called?
I don't know, sewer plan?
The sewer plan, we gotta get going with the sewer plan. I said, it's just, it has to happen, it's just, we can't wait any longer, it's overdue. So, he took that under advisement, so hopefully we can get some action moving on that. Cable, internet, anything cable, internet related, not that I'm aware of? Okay. Moving on, roundtable, we're gonna start
Did we skip solid waste, or?
sewer and solid waste
Oh, so
together.
they're together, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the opportunities I was thinking about for solid waste that's, I might be fairly low-hanging fruit, is a composting plan for the town. I mean, there's, right now, you can sign up for an individual service, but it's expensive, and they come around and pick up a little, it's like a little mini, garbage container like we all have, and, they'll come and pick that up every couple of weeks or whatever it is. But I think in order to make it financially feasible, it would have to be more of a town-wide effort. So if anybody, right now, I think I'm gonna put my priorities on some of these other things I've been talking about. But if anybody has an interest in that on the sewer subcommittee, or the solid waste subcommittee, that's something that I think maybe we ought to
Sure.
try to dig into.
Yep.
Because
I
it's,
think that's a great suggestion, and we do have a number of towns that are doing that, like the
Right.
town of Lexington, Mass has been doing their own compost, and they did it as a pilot project to see whether or not the community would contribute to that compost, so people have to drive the compost, their compost over to one location. But I think there are enough towns out there that are doing that we could look at and not recreate the wheel.
I
it's
think
got
that
a
you
lot of
just have-
co-benefits, because you reduce your tippage fee for all the garbage. You reduce methane emissions, so you're helping out the climate.
Right.
And arguably, you could, maybe save some money for people.
You have to be careful, though, in terms of what people know what is compostable and put the right stuff in, because even with recycling, you still see a lot of confusion with people
Yep, right.
not knowing exactly what can be recycled or not. So I think that if we can come up with a very strict, this is the stuff that we would be interested in, then I think.
The
know, they do-
larger composting facilities that are more kind of like industrial, they're very large. They can handle some of the things that, like your typical, household compost couldn't. So you can actually, if we look into this and we find we can partner with someone who has that large facility and can maintain the heat and the pressure required for breaking down everything. You can put bones and meat and
Yeah.
other things that you can't put into
Right,
it.
right.
So I think that's a great idea to look into, Mike. Yeah. I'd be
Did I
willing,
hear
I'd be
you-
willing to, kind of take the lead on that if,
Great.
Oh, excellent.
Excellent.
yeah,
Thank you, Joy.
yeah.
Excellent. Okay, great. Thank you. I guess moving on to a roundtable. Joy, you want to start your end?
I don't think I have anything. I thought that I watched it on screen last night, and I thought it was excellent forum. The one thing that I was just thinking about in all of our discussions here was, Lynn, you had mentioned maybe kind of reconfiguring committees a little bit at one point. Maybe this is something that I was just thinking about, but so that sewer and water worked a little closer together, because I think, it's kind of the same, it's on the same vein, where it is all, it's all water, right? Where it's just, kind of a couple of different components of water. So I don't know if it would be worth our while, as we're planning on looking through these documents, to just break up pieces of that for us to kind of take charge of, using Mike's list of things that he's already put together that might be the actionable items, and just kind of adding to that.
So just to respond to that, if it makes sense, so this is our committee, right?
Right.
It's not mine, it's our committee, so if it makes sense to reconfigure it a little bit, let's have a talk about that, maybe at our meeting next time.
That's what she's talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right now, it's just myself and Jeff that are on the sewer one, and it's
Yeah.
not, it's opposite of the two people, John and the other one not on the water, so.
yep, yep.
So I don't know how we would
Yeah.
do that, or we just have joint meetings, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what we have to consider. The way the way it was put together is, everybody was on two subcommittees, and it just seemed,
Distribute the work.
in my
Yeah,
mind,
yeah.
it made sense, and,
Yeah.
but, if we want to do something different, I'm all ears, let's talk about it at our next, come in with some ideas, and we'll talk about it at the next meeting.
Yeah,
I'll put it as an agenda item.
that sounds good.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well,
We mentioned the Office of Consumer Advocate. I have worked with several of the team there, so I can talk to you afterwards and, you know,
great.
tell you who knows what and that type of thing.
Okay. Ann?
I have a suggestion that we might want to think about, and I'm not sure exactly how to approach it, but, and because water is such a huge issue in this town, Ray and I, when I took the Ray tour, one of the things that we talked about was whether or not there is expertise within the town, whether or not we've got somebody who has environmental science, environmental studies, environmental law background because this is huge. I mean, PFOA and PFAS is huge, and it's incredibly complicated, and it's complicated from even when you look at the Clean Water Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act, because you have the federal laws and requirements and regulations, and you have the state laws and regulations. So you have to know both sets. And I guess I'm wondering whether or not we want to think about suggesting to the town that they get somebody to work full-time, part-time as an environmental expert for the town. And that person could start off, I mean, you could have a graduate student. You know, you could working part-time or as an internship, you know, semester internship. I just think that these issues are big enough and complicated enough that we need some pretty intense expertise.
Anne, I don't know if this is helpful or if this is something that you might be willing to look into, but the National Science Foundation, when they give out, when they award graduate students grant funding for their graduate work, a lot of times now they are attaching outreach projects or asking them to do outreach projects to the community in addition to, you know, funding their research work. So maybe that's an avenue to look for. You know, maybe we have, I'm just going to say my daughter is an environmental science major at UMass Lowell right now. So she's not a graduate student, but, you know, I just, there are area colleges, UNH of course, that I think would have that type of expertise available at the graduate level.
Yeah.
And the funding. So, yeah.
That's great.
Something to look into.
No, and it would be nice to have an NSF contact.
Yeah.
Either, they're gonna be in DC, they're not gonna be here most likely, but, I just think that we should think about ways to encourage the town to move in that direction. And if we could do it, you know, with graduate students at first, so it doesn't, I mean, you still have to pay the graduate students, obviously, but I think it's gonna be worthwhile for the town. I really do. You've got all of these reports that have been done, you know, Weston doing their report, the master plan, the water quality report. Who in the town is really reviewing that besides Ray?
No,
I think that's a good idea, and so we should try to hone in on a person or a program or
options,
something.
yeah.
Options, and then
Give it to
present
the-
them to,
right, to
you know,
Mike.
that might be a positive thing, and probably, I mean, yeah, Mike or through the town council, I don't know which way you'd go.
I mean, I think we should probably ask them first if there's any interest, you know, to do that before we put together a whole group. Oh, there you go.
No,
Ron, you
I think they'd be interested. I think you just have to get something formulated and put it in a warrant article to get it approved.
Yeah, I think that's.
You know, so I think if you wanted to do this, you've got like 9 months to work on it and get it developed so that you can present it next January in a
Okay.
warrant article to the town.
Another warrant article.
Let us,
Okay.
know-
You know, because if you're going to pay the graduate student, you got to have
Do we need a
funding.
warrant article? just for the town to hire?
If we're gonna pay.
We do.
like-
We're gonna pay.
Like adding firemen.
Yeah.
Well, I
It's
guess
not
that's
in the
what I'm
budget right
thinking
now.
about, if we can find an alternative way, if we can look at programs
Mm-hmm.
where the graduate students' grant is already paying them to do work, that
Correct.
is outreach work.
I would work
And
with
so
Justin,
that
because
might be-
Justin's good at that stuff too, learning about grants.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that would be a nice way to go.
Yeah, rather than putting the burden on the
On the
taxpayer.
town.
If there's, there may be grant money just for that purpose, and, I want to say something, no, wait a minute. I'm speaking out of turn.
So,
Sorry,
Ann,
go ahead.
Ann, are
Rick.
you the right person to put together a one-page summary of what you would be looking for?
I would have to be, I'd look around, I mean, I'd have to call the colleges and universities and see
Well,
what sort of
well,
programs
I
they've
would
got.
think we would want to put down what we're looking for before we go anywhere to
right.
ask for students.
Yeah, I don't know what we're looking for.
Well,
I
I'm
think that's-
suggesting, you mean in terms of the expertise
Yeah.
or in
Yes.
terms of,
Expertise.
The
okay, I
expertise.
mean, Joy and I can work on this
Role,
together.
roles and responsibilities type of thing.
Yep, I mean, I think there, we've got a lot of grant money out there. The person can easily do some grant proposals. They can definitely read these reports. They can, I mean, there's a lot of work that they can participate in, particularly as it has to do with PFAS. I mean, that's where the money's coming from for it now.
And my guess is that 9 months down the road, when we're looking at the next warrants, probably when we're looking at interviewing
Concentrate.
grad students to do that type of work as well. I mean, it would all fall in with that same time period.
Right.
In the
Okay.
meanwhile,
We can get it
we
through,
can determine.
as you said, then it really wouldn't be on the taxpayer. It would be part of their grant that they're getting anyway through whatever source it is. So that, I think that's a great thing to look into.
So we can do our homework to find out what is available and
Correct.
so forth, before we bring it forward, so,
Correct.
you know.
So that's great if you guys will take that on.
We should not forget that we have an environmental engineer named Bob Carey,
Right.
who heads an environmental division on the town staff.
But we never
What-
see him at these meetings.
What is
and-
his expertise?
I don't know.
Well,
No, and before we get into any
Yeah.
personnel discussions, and we're not gonna do that here.
well.
I think,
Right.
no, I think that the town staff, and I'll say this from my personal experience, they're straight out.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
we're looking at adding expertise, we're not gonna go and say, can you do this instead
No,
of
no, no.
that?
No, I agree, yeah,
So-
absolutely.
So I think the place to start right now is putting together a single page saying this is what we're looking for, right?
Yes,
The single page that's like this.
If it's that, they're, if it's
But
that, they're
that
not
is a
gonna do
big
it.
single page.
They're not gonna do it, because they're not gonna be able to accomplish it.
Kidding, yeah,
keep it concise.
Yep.
yeah, all right.
But in the meantime, I'll have a chat with Mike when I see him, just say, this is what we're talking about in terms of adding an environmental engineer, let's start the
Or it
discussion.
doesn't
So-
have to be an environmental
Well-
engineer, it can also be somebody in environmental studies, environmental
But
law.
plant the seed that this is what we're looking at, right? Just plant the seed at this point in
To
time.
get some expertise on these particular issues that we're looking at.
Yep.
And on the town website, it says that Bob is an environmental engineer,
Yep.
so
Right.
that's
Yeah.
his qualifications.
Yeah.
So maybe start with him, man.
Yep.
See if you could aid him, maybe this person could help him, work with him,
Yeah, okay. That's a good idea.
and not add more work to his load, but help him.
Can I say something in that regard?
What regard?
What we're talking about?
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you my personal feeling, and that is that I think what the town is dealing with water, sewer, so forth, build out of the town, where they're at, where they need to move forward to. Personally, I think they should have a water commission, a permanent water commission. Okay, so just a thought. For instance, I go to Pelham. They have a water commission. They have a person that deals with environmental issues in regards to water and sewer, okay? Now, the cost is always, what's it gonna cost, and who's gonna pay for it? But what we're talking about is possibly getting grant money. And so, maybe initially, we start out with a part-time, somebody coming in part-time to do that. But, you know, what the town is looking at and where it's at, the justification's there to have somebody permanently at some point.
Oh, and I
Not,
think
not
that-
now, maybe in a year or two.
No,
Right,
I-
I don't think
as
that's
a
out of the
permanent
realm at
position.
all.
When you check with other towns, much smaller than us, that really have somebody permanently that deals with specifically those issues,
Right,
you know? And so,
yeah,
I think we have to start out slow,
right.
get an idea of what's available, what we're thinking of, and bring it forward, right?
Absolutely.
absolutely. Great. Anything else?
Sounds good. No?
John?
3 quickies. I was a little late in sending out the February minutes. Please review them. I already have an update, so I'll update it tonight, but please review and get your comments back to me. I'll do the March ones before the end of the week. Second thing is, I need to talk to Drew about getting the downloads for the videos, because otherwise I have to go through the whole video to get the minutes and stuff like that, so I'll talk to him about that, because, and the other thing is, Ron, are these mics on all the time, or do you have to press the button to talk, or shut it off, or?
They're on all the time.
Really? Okay.
Press the button to shut it off.
Oh, all right, because the last meeting was very, very soft. I know Mike mentioned that. That's it.
So part of the problem what Kirsten was saying is when you lean back like this
That's it.
versus being up here,
Yes.
you should be somewhat,
About this far away, at least.
you know,
Now, does that go onto the video, or is the video picked up from a center mic?
that's a Drew question.
I'll ask you. Thank you. Because that's important, because like Mike said, a lot of people have been complaining that a lot of the things
Yeah.
they're watching, even our minutes were really, really soft. Okay, good.
Good. Martha?
I have nothing to add.
That was very good, right?
We know what
Nice
you
and
said.
clear.
Watch out with the heavy breathing, okay?
Mike?
Pass.
Ray?
I've said enough,
Ron?
maybe too much.
I just want to remind everyone there's an election Tuesday. Please come out and vote. It is more important than the national election.
Oh, wait a
To your
minute.
I don't
pocketbook.
know about that.
To your pocketbook, it's more.
Yeah.
To your
Right now,
pocketbook,
I don't
Ian.
know about
Day.
that.
Today's Super Tuesday.
To your
Yeah.
pocketbook, Ann, it's more important than a
Yeah,
national
no,
election.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So,
Okay, any other business to talk about before we adjourn?
Wait, are we still in the round table?
you said you were,
Got it, then.
We've moved on, but,
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
okay, great. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Next meeting is,
Oh, next meeting is, thank you, next meeting is Tuesday, April 2nd,
yes.
7 o'clock.
No April Fool's jokes.
Oh, yeah, no. No, and,
Too late then.
And, just remember, daylight savings time does take effect this coming weekend, so hopefully we'll be in tune when it comes to the meeting. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Ray.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting is.
An abandoned property or